Welcome to the third and final training video on RAP's Site Waste Management Plan template. Remember, the first video covered an introduction to the template, the second on data entry, and this third and final video training module will cover the Site Waste Management Plan template's advanced features. So we're going to take you through the good and best practice guidance, legal compliance and detailed reporting options that are available within the template. So on to good and best practice guidance. On the home page here within the template we have the guidance section here, which you can click on to get through to the standard good and best practice guidance section. Alternatively, if you scroll down, here there are also links to each one of the sections. This spider diagram will populate after we've filled in some of the information on the good and best practice levels page. So we'll go back up to the top and click on section 1, which relates to policy. So you can see in the upper left hand corner where exactly we are within the template, and we have arrived at the policy stage, and here is the simple table which highlights each of the actions that are available to you and what you can do to go from standard, good or best practice. So in this section we're looking at policy, and it tells you in the explanation box what you can do at this stage. So it says at this early stage it's advisable that high level targets are set which can inform strategy. The targets will then be incorporated into each construction project as they progress along the project lifecycle. So at standard practice we can set high level inspirational policy goals. At good practice we can insert quantified company-wide targets, and best practice in this example would be to insert quantified project-specific waste reduction targets. So moving from standard through to best, you can see that there's an increased number of actions that you can apply. To the right of there we have the guidance that's available to help, and in this case it links through to the procurement guidance, which gives you some model wording that you can use when setting policy targets. In order to select that one and say exactly what we're going to achieve, use the drop down here and we can go for standard, good or best practice. So let's click on best. Scrolling down from step 1.1 we can see that there is another step below it, step 1.2, and this is how the standard, good and best practice is laid out. So you can see across the top there are a number of sections relating to each one of the project stages, and against each one of those there are options for standard, good and best practice. So if we also select best practice on this item and then go through to the home page, it will start to chart our performance against standard, good and best practice. So you can see on the spider diagram now that it has started to shade in the areas and where we're performing. Number 1 relates to standard practice, number 2 relates to good practice, number 3 relates to best practice. So on 1.1 we have scored best, on 1.2 we also selected best on the drop down, and that's why it's highlighted in this section. As you go through and complete, then the spider diagram will also populate, and it just gives you an idea of how you're doing in relation to standard, good and best practice waste management practices. So moving on to legal compliance, you may remember from the previous video training module we highlighted how compliance is populated with the answers within each sheet. We'll go through to the main overall sheet now by clicking on this review button. Again, it highlights in the upper left hand corner where we are, which is here. Down the left hand side you will see a copy of the English Site Waste Management Plan regulations, and down the right hand side you will see a number of validations against each one of those regulatory requirements. So these are the questions that you answer within the template. So you can see we have no's answered all along here. If we quickly click on review, it will take us to where that question is located within the template. So let's click on this button, and this is looking specifically at whether the Site Waste Management Plan has identified the client. So let's click on this button here. It takes us through to this box, which is obviously empty, and if we enter in a name there and click on this button again to get back to the regulatory compliance page, we can see that the template has identified that we have entered a client name. If we scroll down further, we can see that there are multiple review buttons to go through, and we can review our answers to each one of the questions that are posed. If we come down to here, however, we can see that there is no review button. That is because this is a drop down and we can answer yes or no within this sheet here. The reason for that is that there is an entire paragraph showing that we need to do a number of things. In this instance, we need to ensure that the plan accurately reflects the progress of the project, and so by answering yes, we sign off each one of those regulatory compliances. And that is how the Site Waste Management Plan template builds up an idea of your compliance against the regulations. If we click on the Homepage button, we can see that it has started to reduce the number of non-compliances. Finally, if we go down and have a look at the reporting page, this differs to the KPIs page, which we covered in the previous training module. The reporting page goes into much more detail, looking into all of the data that has been entered. So if we click on this button, again, upper left hand corner, it tells us exactly where we are. It has a summary at the top of how we're doing, and if we scroll down, we can see combined construction, demolition and excavation waste arisings. This table is empty because we haven't completed the template. However, once you enter all of the information into the template, it pulls through to this summary page, which divides all of the data into a number of different columns. We can see waste and material arisings, waste and offsite, and so on, with forecast and actuals in tonnes in this instance. We can see down the left hand side we have from highly aggregated down to waste stream, and then highly disaggregated data down to the list of waste codes. And if we scroll over to the right hand side, we can see there is a summary of recovery of waste, so waste that has been reused, recycled or recovered. We can see these short hot links on the left hand side to construction only, demolition only or excavation only waste. Currently we are looking at the combined, but if you wanted to look at just each one of those, you can click on those links. Also note in the upper left hand side we can transform all of the data to either cubic meters from tons or back again. That is because the template has all of the conversion factors for each material type within it, and it automatically converts data from tons to cubic meters for you. Okay, so let's go back to the home page. So that was a quick summary of the advanced features within the Site Waste Management Plan template, including the good and best practice guidance, legal compliance and detailed reporting options that are available. And that completes the training videos on the Site Waste Management Plan template. Please also remember there are other training videos available from RAP on the suite of tools and guidance, including an overview of the guidance available, designing out waste tools, net waste tool, reporting portal, procurement guidance, and if you're interested in the Site Waste Management Plan template, I recommend you to watch the training video on the Site Waste Management Plan tracker, which has been developed to help you collate and analyse data collected in site waste management plans.